Interview, Mark.
If you have one download, like how lucky are you that one person wants to listen to what you have to say? If you're an influencer of one, you've influenced that one person negatively or positively. It should be something where you do it for your own entertainment and that one person. And for me, that one person is my wife. And if she comes back and goes, "You kind of sucked," I go, "Dang it, I gotta pivot. She's a hard person to win over." My wife and I were driving and she goes, "All these podcasts are boring, right? All these business podcasts are boring." So I go, "Oh, I have the perfect podcast name." And just to entertain me and my wife, I came up with the Not Boring Business podcast. So I have guests come on that I either do business with, or I've always walked away with some of our business conversations or business meetings going, I wish I would have recorded that. But yeah, at the beginning, I didn't really know anything, really. I mean, I started a couple years ago. I know like podcast and audio first entertainment companies are starting to become more of a trend. So like it's way more comfortable to start something now than it was 2-3 years ago when I started. When you watch and listen to someone like Joe Rogan or Anna Faris or whoever it is running their podcast, and you're like, I'm not gonna get these 300,000 downloads an episode. No one's gonna listen to me. I knew very little. I didn't know what microphones to use. I feel like the more research I did, the more confused I was. So I just go, screw it. I'm gonna go to Best Buy, I'm gonna get these little lapel mics. I'm gonna use the camera on my phone, the audio on my phone, and I'm gonna use iMovie to edit it all. The big hesitation always is anyone gonna listen to this, right? I'm sure, I mean, I don't have an audience before this, so it's kind of building and growing and experimenting. And for me, that's kind of uncomfortable. But I think the more you do something and you grow in that discomfort, the more that discomfort breeds confidence. Like a few challenges that I've come into off the top of my head have been the comfortability of guests. And it doesn't matter like the magnitude of the guest. Like I've had New York Times bestselling authors on our podcast, and they tend to be not this person, but they tend to be not as entertaining. And I've kind of put myself in a corner because I named it the Not Boring Business Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the Not Boring Business Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Redman, founder of V1. This is not suits and handshakes business. This is not boring business. Let's go. I get emails from people that are like, this is horrible. How can a podcast be called Not Boring Business be this boring? And I go, that sucks. It is funny that now I've started not even telling them we're recording. So by 25 minutes, and they don't even recognize that like they've been talking in front of a microphone for 25 minutes. Sometimes I go, oh, it's over. And they go, I didn't even know we were recording. And I'm like, that's my podcast. In trying to build an audience, there is a few stages. There's the crying stage, there's the begging phase, there is the second begging phase, and then there's the barrel scraping phase. So through the crying stage, you're literally sitting there going, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Like you're trying to get people on your podcast and you're like, no one's listening to me, right? The second phase, the begging phase, is you're literally begging every single person you ever talk with to download my podcast, right? Like, did you download it? Did you download it on iTunes? Did you go to podcast.notboringbusiness.com? Did you check it out? Did you subscribe to the RSS feed? Did you rate it? Did you subscribe? Did you subscribe? No. I see this says subscribe. It doesn't say unsubscribe. So you can always know when you look at someone's phone and you see it says unsubscribe if they're subscribed, or it says, I've actually made people send me the screenshots of the rating, right? And going, did you rate this? Oh, cool, I got 30, I got 40 ratings, I'm above this other podcast. At the beginning, it was just me, again, the lav mic, my phone, in my office, and then we got a little bigger office, so I sectioned off a piece of that for just the podcast studio with some acoustic curtains and some acoustic foam on the walls and better mics and a better setup. And then I started thinking to myself, I'm not using this all the time. So why don't I encourage other people to start podcasts and build their audience that way? The success question is a rough one, right? Like, success is all subjective. One time when I was 16, 17, and I worked, and my job was like pushing carts or something. And my manager, rightfully so, goes, if you could get paid to talk, you'd be a millionaire. And I go, I'll try to figure that out, how I become that one day. So it's cool to kind of get your opinions and express your opinions. And as a host, you have the freedom to do legitimately whatever you want with your voice. So that's probably the best thing I could come up with that outside of the vapid recognition.